Welcome, 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 everybody. I am so excited about tonight's show. So excited about the folks who are joining us in Zoom. So excited for the folks who are joining us on Facebook and from wherever else in the universe you are joining us. Welcome. My name is Mike DeLuca. This is the Sunday Goal Achievement Mastermind. This is my show, and it is sponsored by my company, Integrative Wellness and Development, LLC. It is not affiliated with any other company, any other movement, any other group, any other person. It is strictly here for the benefit of me learning about stuff and incredible people, and then sharing that information and learning with all of you incredible people. So we're about education, inspiration, perspiration, all kinds of Asians are going to happen here tonight. But mostly we're going to be here learning. We are going to have some really interesting information about ancient secrets of healing through light and sound and frequency and energy medicine. But we have to make this disclaimer. We do not make any claims that there is going to be any possibility in this show of you diagnosing, treating, or preventing any illness or condition. This show is about education, but you're going to get an incredible amount of information about how light and sound and energy can heal, and in particular about this amazing product called the Harmonic Egg, and we'll be talking about that. And I'm going to, at this point, I'm going to ask Gail to unmute. Gail Lynn. Gail Lynn is our very special guest. Gail is a really incredible being and has some incredible stories. And in addition to being a best-selling writer, an inventor of several healing modalities, a lecturer, an educator, and really she's an inspiration for many, many people who are looking to make the world a better place through bringing opportunities for people to heal and to grow. And so I want to welcome you warmly, Gail, to our show tonight. So grateful you're here. And folks, please welcome Gail with me, and we will get started tonight. Gail, who is Gail Lynn, and what is this stuff we're talking about tonight? Energy medicine and healing and light and sound and harmonic eggs. How did you get involved with all of this?
Well, it's a similar story to most other healers, although I don't call myself a healer. It's just the best way to describe most healers end up being super sick, healing themselves, and then here they are trying to help others to heal and give back and serve. So I'm everything that you said, plus an engineer, a rebel, a crazy person, just trying to help save the world and save the planet. So yeah, I love my life. It's amazing. And it got, how I got here was that I was really sick. I had 23 years of migraine headaches. I had cystic acne. My hair was falling out. I was on thyroid medicine, liver problems, reproductive problems, insomnia. And I was 37 years old, and they said, "You're on the verge of an instant heart attack." So after a career in engineering, in automotive and telecommunications, project management, and Hollywood producing, literally it was just too much. And I knew that I needed to make some changes in my life, although I'm stubborn and I'm a Scorpio. So I thought I was good at corporate stuff. I'm really good at project management and operations and helping businesses to be under budget and get jobs done. And one evangelist that I dated had said to me one time, he goes, "The greatest sin of all is to not use your God-given gift." Well, I thought my God-given gift was project management and operations. And so whenever I started to realize that this wasn't my gift, I was really stubborn and every door was locked. And so you had a podcast not too long ago that said your life was a bad country song. And we laughed about that before the show, because literally The universe was saying, you are going to do this new career. And I said, no, my God-given gift is project management operations. And the universe said, no. I said, no, my God-given gift, da, da, da. I lost. I ended up losing my house, my job, my dog. And so now I've played that song backwards and I've gotten everything back 100%, maybe 1,000%. So I lost to the universe and here I am.
Crazy story. You even have a connection with Elvis. Could you talk a little bit about that? Because that's quite a story.
It's quite the story. So after the engineering, I knew that I wasn't supposed to be in Michigan. My dad, automotive, my mom worked for an automotive dealership. My brother works in automotive. And I was like, I got to get the heck out of here. I just knew that it wasn't for me. So I ended up moving to Texas, got together with a shaman, genius, rocket scientist. Literally, he worked for NASA as a rocket scientist. But he was crazy. A lot of genius people are a little bit eccentric or crazy. However much money they have, they either eccentric or they're crazy. If they're poor, they're crazy. If they have money, they're eccentric, right? And we were traveling the world. He was trying to rewire his brain and have these shamanic experiences. And we ended up going to Peru. And when we were in Peru, he asked me for a divorce because he fell in love with the assistant tour guide. So my life is stranger than fiction. And so I flew back home and I was super duper angry. And I thought, how do I get this anger out without suppressing it and creating a disease in my body? And so I went to a karate school. It was a Kempo karate school. And if you don't know, Elvis was an 8th degree black belt in Kempo karate or karate, if you will. And so I go to this school and there's these posters up. Elvis's stepbrother is going to speak to us. He was a 5th degree black belt. His name's David Stanley. He was Elvis's stepbrother. And I was like, whatever. And I know Mickey Mouse. Ha. He does not know Elvis. And so I start talking to him and he asks me out and I think this guy's crazy. So he starts bringing in all these books. Here's me and Elvis. Here's me and Elvis. Here's me and Elvis. I was on tour with Elvis. And he was the evangelist that I ended up dating, which was hilarious from the universe because I was molested by a priest of the parish, the Catholic Church, when I was 14. So I walked away from God and religion. And the universe is so funny. Ha ha. Now you're dating an evangelist. Really? So dated him. And, he told me, he said he was a motivational speaker. And I said, what is your dream? Because he would tell everybody, what is your dream? What is your dream? And I said to him one day, I said, what is your dream? Oh, I can't do any dream because I have to do something that's bigger than Elvis because he was my father figure, my mentor, my friend. And I said, well, what couldn't Elvis do? And he said, well, he could do anything. He could go into the president's office and rummage through his desk and he could get a police badge from every place he visited. I said, what couldn't Elvis do? He thought about it. He said, his management told him he could never direct a film. He was a singer and an actor, and that's it. So I said, well, I guess you're going to direct a film. And he said, well, what do you know about filmmaking? I go, I don't know, but it can't be that hard. Face palm for sure. It was the hardest thing that we have ever done. We made a movie called Protecting the King. And it was basically a 16-year-old boy goes to work for his world famous stepbrother who happened to be Elvis Presley and protects him from everything, but ultimately himself. So David was the stepbrother. At 16 years old, Elvis took him out of school, told his mom that he will find him the best tutors that money can buy. And the first scene of the movie, you see him with 2 hookers. And his idea of tutors and his mom's idea of tutors were very different. So we spent 7 years together. We did this film. And so basically I was saying, hey, here's something that now you can say I did something Elvis couldn't do. All my life, I would build a business for somebody and then walk away. I would build up a person and walk away. And I realized that I didn't have a lot of self-esteem and I didn't love myself. And so finally, when the egg came through, this was a business that I did for me and to serve and to give back and to really create my own legacy. of who I am as a soul being.
Let's talk a little bit about the components. Many of us here who attend the show regularly, very, very deeply ingrained with the power of light, the healing and inspirational power of light, the power of sound. You've combined the power of light, the power of sound, power of color, the power of sacred geometry and structure. That's where did that come from? And could you explain a little bit to the audience how each of those things work to help heal and inspire people to grow and to transform?
Certainly. And I feel like this is something that I've been doing for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. So it's not the first time I've done it. And I've had past life regressions, which one of my regressions was with Dr. Norm Shealy. And if you don't know, he did pass away recently. So he was such an amazing being. And so then I started studying Edgar Cayce, Royal Rife, Wilhelm Reich, Tesla, Einstein. A lot of these people in the past have said that frequency medicine or energy medicine was the medicine of the future. And even Edgar Cayce said if you could bring together the spiritual forces of sound and the spiritual forces of light, it would be a great modality for the future. And I also had a mentor that created a light box. And so it was looking at all these modalities and really curious about how this could possibly work. And as my engineering mind, I couldn't have fathomed that it could actually work. But after I did some sessions in the light box and no longer had the cardiovascular stress and no longer a threat to having an instant heart attack, then I started to do the research and read and read and read and read and met some amazing people along the way, like Ani Williams, who I learned about the tones, missing tones from the voice can actually cause disease. And then there's a book, Sounding the Inner Landscape by Kay Gardner. She's passed away, but she really helped me to understand that the waveforms of instruments are influential for the body, not necessarily the hertz. A lot of people follow the solfeggio suite, but for the harmonic egg, it's the waveforms of the instruments using natural harmonics, using consciously created music from musicians with a high heart energy, very intentional music. And when I say natural harmonics, I mean not synthesized sounds. And we use a lot of nature sounds. And what I can say to you is when the flowers open in the morning, it's because the birds are singing. The birds indicate to the flowers, you can open now. It's morning time. You can open now. And if somebody's going to synthesize birds singing, how would you know when they're going to take a breath? They chirp, 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 chirp. In that silence, in that place when they take a breath is where healing really happens. So we also incorporate a 10 minutes of silence at the end of a harmonic egg session because that silence is golden. I know you go to a movie theater, and they tell you silence is golden. So everybody be quiet. But I really feel like bringing together the spiritual forces of light, we're vibrational beings of light and sound from source, from God. Bringing those together, I thought Edgar Cayce nailed it. It's a great modality to bring those together. And then you take a resonant chamber that's made out of wood, the spiritual forces and properties of wood, and then you use the golden ratio and sacred geometry. And then you use the Tesla mathematics, 3s, 6s, and 9s. And so I created this beautiful download of a technology that seems very galactic, very ancient, and very powerful to help the being, the client inside the egg to really see themselves and who they are. Because most people don't see who they are. When you look in the mirror, you might not like your earth suit. You might see the little pimple on your face. You might see you have a big nose or you don't like your eyebrows. When you get out of the egg, you see the beauty in yourself. It lifts a lot of the veil of trauma to help you to see the magical being that you are. And I absolutely love it. And I'm biased.
So I have a picture on the screen. Can you see the picture, Gail? That's
I
PowerPoint.
can, yes.
Okay, can you describe a little bit about the construction here of the egg and how light, sound, and the sacred geometry work together to have this healing and transformational effect on people?
So the 3, 6s, and 9s are really interesting. So when you look at the outside as uh, um, dodecahedron, sorry, dodecahedron. So it's 12 sides paneled. So you have the 2 plus the 1 is the 3. And 12 is such a powerful number. 12 zodiac signs, 12 disciples. If you look up the number 12, it's very universal, divine, beautiful number. On the inside, where you see the chair, it's sitting on a hexagon platform. And what I learned about a hexagon, not only that bees use that hexagon shape for their hives because it's a very efficient shape, but in the center of a hexagon can be a portal. So a lot of people feel that they're levitating or there's some kind of a portal inside of the egg, almost like a Star Trek technology. And then you have the 9, so 360 degrees, 6 and 3 is the 9. And then you have the golden ratio. So it's as wide in depth for the with the golden ratio. And then I used the wood because wood doesn't hold information or energy, unlike crystals. If you don't know how to clear crystals, information can pass along from client to client. The same with the float tanks. If you don't know how to clean water properly, water holds information. Water holds energy. Our bodies and our cells, like the What the Bleep movie, when she paints that heart on her, she's telling her cells and that water in her body that she loves herself and that she's really trying to send that love. Dr. Emoto's work, when he says, hate on a glass of water and you see these gnarly crystals, or you see love on a glass of water and the crystals are beautiful snowflakes, perfect snowflakes kind of shapes and crystals. So water holds information and energy. So I wanted it to be wood. And I felt like those spiritual forces will help the chakras come back into balance. The instruments help the chakras. And then the sound waves, and then the sacred geometric structure. If anybody knows who Victor Schauberger is, he talks about the shape of the egg, and he had a water dispenser with an egg shape. And always that water was always a higher vibration just by having the egg shape. So I feel like the water in our bodies inside of an egg session is just really vibrating at a high level. So putting somebody on 396 hertz or 528 hertz to me isn't as efficient as using the waveforms of instruments because some people might be vibrating at 800 hertz. Power versus Force, David Hawkins' work. When he passed away, he even admitted that the Christ consciousness that he was talking about in his book was at 1,000, but he admitted it's already at 1,200, 1,300 hertz. The eggs are now vibrating at 1,600 hertz. And the more eggs that are coming online on the planet, seems like it's making them more powerful together because they're connected to each other in a self-organizing system.
So we've talked about light energy, the color light that is used inside of the egg and around the egg, right? You have colored light, and the light color and frequency of the light is chosen specifically for each individual who's going to go in the egg. Is that correct? The colors. Okay, so that's really important for people to know. This isn't just cookie cutter. We throw these lights up and we put some music on, you go in the egg and it's you're gonna hatch out of it changed. There's real science to it and it's very specific to each individual. And I think that's really important. So light, sound, the sacred geometry in your website, and folks really need to go check their website out, harmonicegg.com. You'll learn about all of this stuff, the science behind it, Gail's story. So you mentioned there that scalar waves, scalar energy plays a big part, but it's very unique to the egg versus I've been to a number of different scalar energy treatment, places where you're just in a room and it's just floating around. How is scalar wave energy worked with in the egg, and how is it different in the egg from other modalities that are out there?
That's a great question, but as an engineer, I want measurements, and I don't know of any machine that can measure scalar energy or scalar waves. So my best definition of scalar energy is pure love, pure love. And so our brand attributes for the company are love, integrity, reliability, and community. So each one of the egg guardians, that's what we call them, who sign up to be a guardian for an egg, they sign an initial that they will conduct their business and themselves to the best of their ability with love. Oh my gosh, I got goosebumps. Integrity, reliability, and community. And so I feel like when you go to an egg, and people who have tried it will tell me it's like a cocoon. I felt hugged. I felt the love. I felt the energy. And the egg guardians are beautiful beings who are there to serve, help you set your intention, hold that space for you while you're doing your session. And what's not to love about that? It's but just a beautiful experience that you go in there for 40 minutes of music, 10 minutes of silence on a session that is built just for you, and your intention is held with the practitioner for you with so much love. So I think scalar energy at the core is just pure love.
Yeah, so now you're tying in light, you're tying in sound, you're tying in sacred geometry, you're tying in frequency, but in a sense, isn't all of that love? Isn't everything
Highest
that we're
vibration.
talking about
Yeah.
at its highest vibration a form of divine love? And it doesn't, this
Correct.
isn't a religious thing, it's not a spiritual thing, it's science. To me, that is so liberating. It's also so unifying that it doesn't matter what belief systems you have, this works for everyone and anything, because it goes right to the very basic, building blocks of what everything is made of. Every atom is made of energy. It's made of light and sound. It's made of energy that flows in waves. And how we perceive it and how we interact with it is based on a lot of that, our programming in our brain and our interpretation. But in the end, it's all that one simple, basic energy. I have been very fortunate to have found the Harmonic Egg in Saco, Maine. My two good friends, Judith Stark and Bill Carey, introduced me to it, and both of them have decades of experience in energy medicine and qigong and yoga and all kinds of different things. Bill was my sensei in the martial arts for many years. I had a very interesting experience twice, and I wanted to get your input on it. First of all, I'm very much aware of how very similar technology was used in Atlantis and then was used in Egypt. And I had a very profound experience my first time in the egg, where I actually was aware of this portal that connected past, present, and future, because they are all connected. It's just a matter of focusing on a frequency that's the past, a frequency that's the present, a frequency the future. But as that portal of past, present, and future uniting, I became aware of a being that I recognized as a being that I had encountered in ancient Egypt, and that being was in fact the inner guardian, who was assigned to that portal that is connected to that egg. And that was really fascinating. And I had a very powerful inner experience once my session started and I was gone. And while my body was receiving the healing benefits, my inner essence was transported, and a great deal of information that was very pertinent to my health, my work that I'm doing, my future was downloaded And so I came out of that session not only physically, emotionally, mentally uplifted and healed, but also there was a spiritual inspiration, but there was also a download that was very critical for me to do what I need to do in this mission that I have in my life. And so I wanted to have you touch a little bit on that. This is more than just physical, physiological healing that happens, that the entire makeup, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, past, present, future, in the arms of this energy of light, sound, and love. All of this is not only possible, but all of this is inevitable when you bring all of that together. Can you talk about that?
It just started pouring rain, so I'm gonna mute when I'm not talking. And I'm in the high desert in Colorado, so it hardly ever rains. It's hilarious. So yes, people have experienced these beings. Even my sister, who doesn't believe in it, and of course, where I come from, my parents would have told me I was crazy and I needed to go to the, some psychiatrist or psychologist. And so I do believe that this is very ancient and it does have its roots in Atlantis and planet Sirius B. And a lot of the beings are there to serve and support and help, almost as if if some people have heard of psychic surgeries, they've heard of that. And, it's also the power of people who are not really into that might think of it more as prayer. You can send somebody a prayer and they can feel it. But you feel these beings that are there to support you, almost like a doctor. Sorry if you guys can hear that. It's really pounding on the window. And so it's almost like a doctor that's there to kind of analyze what's going on with your body and to help you to find the answers for yourself, to listen to your body. And that's the thing that I think we don't do. We go to a doctor and we say, what do you want us to take? What do you want us to do? What's wrong with me? When we really should be saying, what's wrong with me to ourselves, because we are our best doctors. And then going to a doctor and saying, I'm having a little bit of discomfort in my right side. And, maybe you could test my liver because that's where the liver is. Or I'm having these feelings, but I just had a very strong emotional trauma or a car accident.
We're having a little internet freeze. We'll wait for Gail to connect back with us. While we're waiting for her to connect, how many of you folks out there have had, first of all, how many of you have had an experience with a harmonic egg? I see several people are saying that they've been there. If you could raise your hand, your little golden hand there, or you can raise your physical hand. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow. Okay, so we have quite a few folks here who've had an experience with that. How many people have had an experience with light and sound being used for healing and health benefits? Okay, so quite a few of you. Excellent. Okay, so a lot of the things that we're talking about here are not foreign to you at all. And for me, it was the same situation. This was not foreign to me at all, but I had not seen it all put together this way. And I had not seen it put together in a way that was so easy to experience without a lot of complicated equipment, machinery, things that I had to learn to do. It simply just, came into the center, talked with the egg guardian about what I was needing to work on. We picked the appropriate color, light. We picked the appropriate music. We said the appropriate affirmation intentions. got set up in the egg and blast off, right? It happened. So, while we're waiting for Gail to come back, that storm she's having may have
I'm
interfered
back.
with. She's back.
Yeah.
Okay, where are you?
Yeah, the storm must have knocked out. I have a satellite and it's now passed and the sky's turning blue again. So we're good. I don't know. It was funny.
Boom.
Yeah.
Okay, you are back pinned. Okay, we can see it.
So yeah, so I think the egg lifts the veil to help you to know who you are. And we've been so hoodwinked into believing that we have no power. We are some of the most powerful beings like of of any experience I've had. And I really believe that the egg empowers you to really know who you are and see yourself with that magical being that you are.
I if I could, Bill, if you're willing to unmute, I really would like folks to hear about your health challenge and the experience you had with the egg, because it was nothing short of phenomenal. Bill Carey, who is one of the operators of the Harmonic Egg in Saco, Maine. Bill, I'm gonna pin you here. Can you
Sure.
share with us
Yep.
a little bit about your experience?
Well, it was a couple days after we had signed the agreement to purchase the egg that I was playing with my band and I had a stroke. And it was really weird because I was in the hospital and I had asked Judy to bring a guitar down and I couldn't even make a chord with my left side. But Gail called up and we got in touch with Charles Monroe down in Baltimore and we did a remote session, which was my first experience with that, and it was really strange, but I was very relaxed again. And the next day, I was able to form chords again on the guitar. So I've been using the egg ever since we got ours in October, and I've done about 33 sessions now, and oh, it's a good number. But I've improved after every session. It's like something clicks back in. So now I've gotten rid of my walker. I've gotten rid of my cane. I'm walking around and almost all the way back. I I haven't gone out on the golf course yet, but I've tried twirling the bow staff and outside and just feeling how my balance shifts and stuff like that. So it's all coming around, and a lot of the new music that's coming in is really really incredible. Um, you got the stuff from Peru, the Selva, the Costa, and Andes. Three big tracks that were really powerful.
You're inspiring me to ask both of you, especially Gail. This isn't that you picked relaxing, inspiring music, but from what I understand, every note, every instrument in these compositions was specifically coordinated, selected, and composed to have a true adherence to a frequency and to a particular effect of healing. Is that accurate? Is that?
That is accurate. Every waveform of every instrument has a different effect on a different body part or organ or chakra. So every piece is designed with an intention. So we have now several eggs in Ecuador, Peru, South America. We're looking at maybe doing a deal with Brazil to build them for South America. And so we really needed to have some cultural music. And there are people who really resonate with this music. And when the musician's name was Jorge, when he flew to Denver to meet me and we connected. And whenever I hire a new musician, I ask them to hold a space of love and the intention that we want to set for the piece. So each piece has a separate intention and what it's going to be. And when I go into the egg and I listen to it, I can see the colors that are best intended for that piece of music. That doesn't mean it's for everyone. The center owners and the egg guardians can tune into their intuition. but I can see the colors, and usually the piece names itself. The title comes through and names itself to me. And I know you interviewed Rodney James, in one of your podcasts. And so we have our very first jazzy type of piece of music. And what the eggs told me, they said, you need a piece of music to help hydrate the body. And I said, okay, so what instruments is that? What instruments will that be? They said trumpet and drumming. Okay, so I need trumpet and drumming. So I had to find a musician to do trumpet and drumming. And we used some Taos drums and trumpet, and it's very jazzy. It's the first jazzy piece. But the egg also told me that the root cause of dehydration isn't always just the microbes that feed our soil and our foods. So that's dehydrated. So this piece of music is going to help hydrate the microbes on the land, as well as the human body or the client inside the egg. So each piece of music is so intentional and so uniquely designed. And they are on the website. You can download them and listen to them at home. There's nothing like being in the egg. But as Bill mentioned, we have remote sessions, which as an engineer from Detroit, that's kind of just cray that somebody would go in there and have any kind of results by putting their picture in there. It's been really interesting. I just put a picture of a doctor in the egg last week, and she had some back pain. She was on a podcast. I was on the podcast, and we listened to each other's, interviews and asked the host to please introduce us. And she said her back pain went away, and she's wondering if there's any science. Can I explain this to a cognitive type person? I said, well, there is science behind it. But doctor, what if it was just a placebo effect? What if you just thought it was going to work and it worked? What's wrong with that? There's no harm. There's no side effects. And so I said there is science behind it, and I've written about it. But, we always try to be analytical and try to figure out, well, why did that work? Was it because the rainstorm just blew through here? Is that why it worked? Or because it's the summer solstice? But there's mostly males that come in and they say, I've had asthma for 40 years and now it's gone, but it is the first day of summer. Okay, but you also did an egg session. Could it just have been the egg? No, that didn't do anything. Because it's really hard for us to put our brain around. You go inside this large wooden egg, which seems crazy in itself. You lean back in this chair, you listen to some music, you got some lights on, and then all of a sudden you don't have asthma after 40 years. It does sound crazy. We need that rational mind to go, okay, this is what it was exactly. And so a lot of times the center owners get the credit. Well, it has to be, oh, it's you. It's because of you. You're here, and I can understand that. I can't understand that this crazy egg would help me, but now I look around you. I see you. You're the one that helped me. And so it's a really big responsibility to be a center owner. Because we have to educate people and help them to understand that their body can heal itself when it's in the right environment. So the remote sessions to me are really weird. And sometimes the center owners tell me they open the doors and they have a smell. And one particular one was a pickle smell. And the parents smelled that off of the child that was in the remote session at home. So when the center owner opened the door and smelled a pickle smell, they also smelled it on him at home. Like, just blows your mind kind of stuff, that everything's energy.
It's really important. I wanted to bring up the difference between this energy medicine, so to speak, light, sound, sacred geometry, harmonics, very different from what people encounter called psychic healing, right? Very, very different. And could you explain that? Because I know a lot of people have a concern about getting exposed to something that is psychic healing, that might affect the chakras, might affect the aura, might affect their inner bodies. This is nothing like that. And could you help people understand that?
Yes, because I think it's important. There are a lot of wounded healers out there, and I've been hurt by them because I'm very sensitive, and a lot of your audience is going to be very sensitive. And maybe they have figured this out and maybe they haven't yet, but they go to a chiropractor, The chiropractor lays his or her hands on them and they leave being sad, only to find out later the chiropractor is going through a divorce. Or they go to a acupuncturist and flicking their energy into your body, and they leave there in fear, only to find out that that acupuncturist is losing their home and they're living in fear. So I had a massage one time. I left there feeling really financially scared and realized that she was in financial distress. So we pass our energy along to other people, and we want to be really careful. So that's why I want the egg to be a consistent and repeatable device, not where somebody is putting their hands on you, because we're human. And some humans can be neutral some days. And then if they just got in a fight with their partner or just got into a car accident or lost somebody in their life, their energy can influence the healing session. And it's not their fault. It's just that we're human and we have these experiences. But if we're the client and we don't know that that's not our energy, then we can be in big trouble. And we start looking for things to heal that really aren't ours. And so I think it's important. And for me, I'm human, but my energy is in the egg. And people have said, oh, Gail, at the end of the session, you came in. I don't want to be that person, because I'm not perfect. And my energy is in the egg. So I probably beat myself up way too much that if my energy is in there, then I need to be perfect. And it's really a big responsibility on me because I am so not perfect. But I do try, and I try to disconnect from any of the egg energy so people aren't picking anything up from the practitioner or me. The egg is consistent and repeatable. That's why it's a machine made out of wood, which doesn't hold information and energy. But anybody that invents anything, their energy's in it. Any healer that's healing somebody, their energy's in this session. So they have to be extra careful when they're putting their hands on somebody to not be passing along their emotions. So I don't know if I answered the question because it's not really about psychics, but just that kind of information I think is really valuable for people to be more discerning. And if you walk into a place and you get a sick feeling in your stomach, you might just know that it's not going to be a good experience. It's including ayahuasca. If when I went to Peru, I was planning on doing ayahuasca with my husband, who then at that point asked me for a divorce. The tour guide would not let me do it. And I understand because I was very angry, very emotional. And he said, I can't let you do the ayahuasca because you will have a really bad trip because of the emotional state that you're in. And there's people that conduct ayahuasca ceremonies that intentionally influence people's energy and play around. It's not a joke. It's not something that they should be doing, but I'm going to make this person have a bad trip because they sassed off to me at the beginning of the class or the ayahuasca ceremony. And we really need to learn as healers, if we are a healer, to be very neutral and to be of pure love, so that we can do our best at serving our clients and helping people along on their healing journey.
Thank you.
At this point, I'd like to open it up for questions because I know many of you have a lot of questions. So if you would be kind enough to use your golden hand that you find at the bottom of your Zoom. Some of you have it under the more, some of you have it under React, probably under React. So if you click on the little heart at the bottom, if you raise your hand, if you'd like to ask Gail a question, this is the time to do that. And then we're going to go a little more deeper into her book and some other things before we end tonight's session. So who wants to be the second person to ask a question? I already did. So who wants to be second?
Maybe I explained it so well that there aren't any questions.
Well, while we're waiting for a question, I wanted to make a point about the remote aspect by simply having a photo of someone. There are cultures that have believed for generations that when you take a picture of someone, you capture their entire energy, their spirit, their entire essence. And I think that's a pass on from ancient times where they knew we are all energy. And that when you can capture that energy frequency, that energy signal of somebody, signature of somebody, that photo is then capable of communicating to them or be a vehicle for that. So the first time I heard of it, it took me a while to connect with it, but when I did, I realized, oh yeah, that's why when you take a photo, you're capturing the essence, the energy. Can you talk a little bit about what happens when a photo is placed in there?
Absolutely. And we can also work with pets or animals. So what they told me is that a photo of the person by themselves, not with, their family, and you can see them a little bit in the background somewhere, like poking their head up over the family, but just the picture of them. And then their full birth name and their birth date, not hair sample, no DNA sample is needed, but just their full birth name and their birth date when they were perfect, when they dropped onto the planet that day with that birth certificate and that name is when they were perfect. So then we use that picture, and it's just like a regular session. You set your intention, you talk to the practitioner, they put you in the egg, you have 40 minutes of music, 10 minutes of silence. And we just ask you to not be on your phone, not watching TV, not on a computer, but either drawing or walking in nature or, just meditating or laying down and relaxing. And I find a lot of people will tell me, including my brother, who's hilarious. He's an automotive worker from Detroit. And so he doesn't believe in any of this stuff. This is all crazy. And his sister's crazy, me. And so he said, I'm not going to tell you what colors I saw. I want you to tell me so that I was like, do you think I'm going to lie to you? He's like, no, but if you tell me, then I'll tell you if you're right. And so I told him the colors. He's like, oh my God, those are the colors that I saw. And a lot of people will actually just feel like they're in there. It's so insane and crazy. And with animals, animals and children only know love. And so they heal really fast. And so like my horse was probably a little freaked out when that storm came through. But one time it was hailing and I immediately grabbed her picture, put it in the egg, and she was pacing around. It was hailing. It was on her roof and she was freaking out. As soon as I put her in the egg, she was calm. And I've had her at a horse boarding facility with 40 or 75 different horses. And the owner had said to me one time, she goes, Holly is the most calm horse here. And they're fight or flight animals. So their nervous system is always in the, fight and flight mode. And she said, what do you do with her? I go, I put her in the egg. And she's like, oh, Gail, that's so silly. She might just be a good horse. I'm like, okay, then why did you ask me? But I just noticed that she will be so calm during her sessions. And I think it's because I'm resetting her nervous system and she doesn't have to be in that fight or flight. And just like most adults, we're in fight or flight. Where are you going to get the next dollar to pay your house payment? You got to feed your children. You got to go to their job. If you're late for work, your boss is going to get up on you. So a lot of our lives are spent in fight or flight. And that's not a good place to be when you're trying to heal. So the egg brings that nervous system back into balance, resets the system, and helps you to help yourself and use the innate ability for your body to heal.
Great. I have very crafty, creative people here who decided they're going to use the chat. So I've got a bunch of questions in the chat. So we're going to go to that. First question, how would the egg work for the elderly, someone with starting stages of dementia? Would it be something to consider to help?
So dementia is very tough. And what I've noticed with dementia is it's obviously a lot of people say it's aluminum, but it is a neurotoxin in the brain. But I think it's years and years and years of chronic dehydration where they haven't had enough water and your brain has shrunk. So the biggest thing you want to do is start really hydrating. And you might feel like, oh my gosh, I drink and I pee. Immediately because your cells are not healthy enough to absorb the water. So it's just going to flush right through. It'll take a long time for you to be able to drink water and your cells to hold it. So I believe with dementia, it's very tough. A lot of elderly people have more energy when they come in. I have one center that's seeing a lot of Black pastors, and they're coming in with walkers with their daughter bringing them, and then they're like almost running out to the car. And so it's hilarious to use this. So there's a lot of energy that comes through. And then some elderly people, it helps them to transition in a more easy way, because they'd start releasing all that trauma and all that baggage, and there's a more peaceful passing. So I've had a variety of situations. Dementia is tough though, because it can be a chronically shrunken brain. And how are you going to get that hydrated when you haven't had hydration for 40, 50 years, 20 years even?
Another question, is it possible, as Bill said, to have comfort or some sort of relief or a positive experience after just one session, even a remote session? I think we've heard the answer that, for Bill, certainly in one session, I felt a difference. But, I go back regularly. Is that possible that in one session that
everybody's different,
Yeah,
so everybody's
that's
different. I can't say it's not a magical egg. If it took you 20 years to get to the place where you're sick,
Mhm.
you may see some little greatness in one session, or you may actually feel worse after the first session because systemically things are coming up to release. And you just don't know. I had a doctor come in one time, and I told him, I said, you should try to do 3 to 6 sessions to reset your nervous system, so you're holding that session. Because he said, I have had 12 years of back pain, and after one session, it's gone. I said, well, you should come back. Why? It's gone. And I said, well, I think that it could come back. I mean, I don't know. I would try to get them to do at least 3 sessions to help create a new normal. If it's something very chronic, maybe 6 to 10 sessions, but everybody's different. He never came back, and the back pain never came back. But I know he did ask me out on a date, and we did go out, and he just said, I wanted to ask you, why did I feel, because when I opened the doors, he was like wiping tears, and like, oh, hey, and I said, it was all emotional. No, it wasn't. So a couple of days later, we went to dinner, and he said, you're right. I had never really understood why my wife left me. And this was 12 years ago. That's when the back pain started. And he said, somehow it must have released that trauma, because I don't have another explanation. But he was 67 years old, older guy, and he was embarrassed to cry in front of, a girl. And I think it's part of how men are raised. They're not raised to express their emotions. Oh, don't cry, you're a baby, be a man. And they suppress a lot of stuff and create disease in their body. So I just tell people, you need to feel what you feel your emotions, cry if you need to. I love crying. And it releases cortisol, which releases belly fat. So we should all be crying.
I had mentioned the experience I had with the Guardian. I want to step back to that was a very personal experience as far as the portal goes, because I was going through a situation here in the present that was connected to that time in Egypt, and was connected to the technology and energy that started back then in use. So I just want people to understand that portal experience may not be the experience that people have. And for most people, you're not going to have that. I specifically needed that to put piece A from the past together with piece B in the present, in order for me to have the tools I needed to deal with a situation that I was dealing with. So there are some people who are a little concerned about, could a portal open up in the egg? And no, and that's not what that experience was about. But I shared that experience with you because past, present, and future exist together. They're simultaneous. They're just different frequencies. So I don't want people to think, oh, I did get in the egg, it's going to put me through a Stargate and I'm going to be
No,
in
and
some other dimension. That's not going to happen.
I don't have anything that I always get out of my session and go, well, I don't think anything happened. And then 2 or 3 days later, I know exactly what happened. I'll get somebody to call me or some situation will manifest. But I'm the one that's skeptical. I'm like, okay, I don't think anything happened. And I still do that after hundreds and hundreds of sessions. But I'll tell you a funny story. I had a remote session with a guy who lived in California. And I put him into my egg. I have an egg at my house. So I will do, he was doing some social media for me. And he was so cute. A younger kid, I put him in, all of a sudden my circuit breaker, the breaker flips and the music goes off. I'm like, that's weird. That's never happened before. So I reset it. The music goes back on. It does it again. And I was like, what the heck? So I put it back on and it does it again. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to have to call him and tell him the session's not going to work. If it goes off one more time, I'm going to call him. After the session, he called me and he said, Gail, there were like these 3 energy bubbles that like popped. And I don't know what happened. I'm like, oh my gosh, you tripped my circuit breaker 3 times. He said, yeah, 3 energy bubbles just pop, pop, pop. It's exactly what happened. It's so insane how time doesn't exist. Energy exists everywhere at the same time. And it blows my mind. I can't say that I understand it, but I've experienced it with clients over and over and over again. Some just crazy stuff that I can't deny anymore.
And another point to the person who was concerned, prior to the session starting, there is quite an intricate and involved process of not only going through your intention, but there is a very powerful protective process that goes on before the session starts that eliminates any potential of harmful energy or anything like that that you might be concerned about happening when that egg shuts. You are completely clear, clean, protected, and insulated from any energies that are going to be anything other than what is being generated by the music and the light, and you in harmony with that, and nothing else is allowed in there. And I'm quite impressed by the level of intricacy of that protective, process, because it's intense, it's real, it's palpable, it's sincere. And I think it's one of the things that enables someone in there to really just let go, release, relax, and fully embrace the power of light, sound, love, energy. So I wanted to throw that out. Maybe you can comment on that if you wish.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I feel like if somebody doesn't feel right or it doesn't resonate with them or there's any fear around it, then they don't, it's maybe not for them. Maybe they need a hands-on massage. Maybe they need an acupuncturist, or maybe they need someone that they want to speak to and do talk therapy. And it's okay. It's okay because there is no one size fits all and not everything is for everybody. I love it. And if anybody was skeptical, it's me. And I've had people who go in there and they just say nothing happened. But then their husband or their wife will say, oh my gosh, what did that egg do to her or him? And I said, well, they said nothing happened. They said they're so different though. And so it's just really interesting. I love, I love to see the people's faces when they come out. People just change. And so, but I don't want anybody to have any fear around it. There's nothing to fear but fear itself.
We had mentioned the specially chosen music. How does the operator of the egg choose the specific music and the colors? You mentioned the colors and the music are chosen specifically for the intention of the person going in the egg. How can you talk a little bit about that process?
The first time you go in, you're going to usually be on an autonomic nervous system reboot. There's very few exceptions to that because right when you come in, your nervous system has a normal. We want to reset that to a new normal, a more perfect balanced normal. So it's usually going to be blues and purples, maybe some green light, because those are calming, cooling, neutral colors to help reset the nervous system. Piano seems to balance the nervous system very well, whereas drumming would build the immune system and it's going to be a little more intense, where flute music works on the liver. And so we have different instruments that do different things, but there is a training manual for the center owners. And then there's 21 books of required reading if they want to just learn more. And how did this technology come through? Where does the basis for it? There's 21 books that I give them that I read that were really influential in building the egg and the protocols, but they also have what we call a cheat sheet. And they can say, okay, for Parkinson's, I'm going to use yellows and greens. I'm going to use these song selections. So you really can't go wrong. And there's not a single piece of music that would hurt anybody because of the way it's designed.
Great, thank you. Another question, how are the potential owners of the egg vetted? What is the process for someone qualifying to become an owner of the egg and an operator of a harmonic egg, service?
Most of the stories that I hear, the egg finds them. So I don't have a huge interview process, but most of the people I can tell if they've come to me and they're of service and they want to serve people and they're having a better quality of life. If people start asking me questions like, how much money can I make? I usually try to deter them into go find something else to do, because this is not what it's about. It's about serving. And when you're in service, the money just shows up. And I'm kind of a testament to that. There have been some times, even when this was a career change and I had lost everything, I basically told the universe, if you want me to do this, you better show me how to do it, because I don't have the resources to do it. And it just flowed. As soon as I said yes, everything flowed, everything showed up that I needed. It was pretty magical, actually.
That leads to another question about, are there any healthcare professionals, that's a pretty broad term, but are there any healthcare professionals who are using the egg as part of their everyday treatment modalities?
Medical doctors in Florida, nurse practitioners, RNs, physician's assistants, chiropractors, naturopathic doctors all own eggs in a variety of locations. When COVID happened, a lot of people that were in the medical profession didn't want the mandates and they were refusing, so they lost their jobs. And they still wanted to serve and they still wanted to give back. So that's when most of the medical professionals bought their eggs.
Great. That was a great question and a great answer. Let's see. I think we have another user who said she loves it and it is a blessing. We thank you for that. She's in her Harmonic Egg Healing Center now. If anyone wants to see it after the interview. Yeah, sure. We'll hang on and you can give us a little tour. That's pretty cool. Another message just came in. First, thank you, Gail. I've reached out to someone local. Is there or was there a client that was deaf and could feel the vibrations resonating in the egg?
Yes. When you're deaf or you have one of your senses that doesn't work, the other senses seem to be amplified. So we don't turn up the volume because you're deaf. You feel the vibrations and the session in all the cells of your being, probably more than people who can hear. It's really beautiful. I had one guy come in and he was deaf, and he has, I think, 10 or 11 kids. And I'm like, maybe that's why you're deaf. We just joked about it, right? He said after the session, he knows if his hearing's better because he'll scratch on his shirt and see if he can hear it. And he could actually hear what he was scratching on the material of his shirt. So it was really interesting. We've had people with hearing aids and they take them out and want me to crank up the volume, but I don't do that because if you go above 90 decibels, when you're listening to music or anything, you're then starting to throw the body into fight or flight and damaging cells. So all the practitioners know to keep it under, we try to keep it about 75 decibels or less. I think the lower volume and blue lights really help with pain. And so it's interesting and maybe counterintuitive, but lower volume to help the body heal is actually better for the body.
Thank you. Someone here is saying, please thank Gail for saying yes to the universe. Thank you, Gail, for saying yes to the universe. Another question, is this safe for someone with epilepsy? That's an interesting question.
It's a great question. We have had people, children and adults, go off of, or they decrease their epileptic medicines pretty slowly, but have not had seizures. One lady had grand mal seizures, and she went to what is I can't remember what the lower seizure is right now. It's slipping my mind, but she definitely had success. We don't use any flashing lights. We don't use any strobing because we don't want to create a seizure or a migraine experience. So it's very calming. And as long as you let the practitioner know that you have the condition, they know that they're going to use lower volume, calming lights. And we've actually had people go off their medications or lower them very slowly and have less seizures. So yes, we have had success with that.
That's impressive.
Again, it's the body healing itself.
Exactly. I know Bill had told me a story about a patient who is on the spectrum and has received great benefits from the egg, and actually has a very intuitive understanding that what is going on with the egg is specifically important to him. Can you talk a little bit about the spectrum and how it's benefiting people on the spectrum are benefiting from this?
I can, and I'll try to tell the story short, but usually I tell a short story long because I like to talk. So Susie Miller, if you haven't met Susie Miller, you don't know who Susie Miller is, Susie, Suzy. She wrote the book Awesomeism. So she is one of the people that we interviewed in the upcoming documentary that we're doing. And it's going to be called It's Time. It's time for more love. It's time for more kindness. It's time for more music as medicine. It's time for us to be more connected and know that we're one, so that we can change the world by, using that more love and less hate and fear. And so I met her years ago when I first created the egg, and we have a mutual friend. So she put us together because Susie was telling this lady, the kids keep telling me about this pod that's going to come to the planet and it's going to really help them, but the pod hasn't come through. I have no idea what this pod is. Some crazy pod the kids keep telling me. She communicates with the nonverbal autistic community, and she's so good. She's so amazing. And so Sandy puts us together, and Susie tells me the story, and she said, I need to come and see your pod. And so she flew from California to Denver, and she did a session and confirmed this is the pod that the kids have been telling her about. That is going to come to the planet to help those on the spectrum, to really help us raise our vibration and help them to understand us and we understand them. So we kind of meet in the middle because they're brilliant. And I was afraid of the kids on the spectrum because I had heard stories, oh, they're really violent, or they get so emotional. And Susie said, don't worry, Gail, they're not going to be that way with you because you are trying to understand them. You're trying to help them. You're there for them. You're there supporting them. And I had so many clients. They're so cute. Just different experiences. I let them set the settings. Hey, I give them the light remote, say, what color do you want? And they know exactly, boop, boop. They pick the 2 colors that they want. They can sometimes communicate, sometimes they can't. But I learned from having a horse how to communicate nonverbal. And so sometimes they would just grunt and point, and I would keep asking, okay, this, no, this, no, this, So really just trying. And to me, I love challenges. And that was a challenge. How can I serve them best? And then there's a doorbell in there too. I don't tell them about it because then ring, 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 because it's just hilarious. But if people are claustrophobic or anything like that, there's a doorbell in there. You're totally safe. It's actually larger than the inside of a car for most cars.
What would be the youngest age that could benefit and use the egg, have an egg experience?
I've had pregnant women in there through their whole pregnancy and they didn't have morning sickness. They had a beautiful delivery. And the biggest trauma of our soul is being born.
Yeah.
And so I encourage people to, especially if they had a C-section, you know, they were kind of on an epidural and then the C-section and then the baby gets all these shots and it's ripped away from the mom. They feel abandoned already. So I encourage them to bring the baby in as soon as possible to start clearing that trauma so that they don't carry that with them when they, 18, 20, 30 years old, they're not reliving that birth trauma.
Could a parent go in with an infant or a small child, sit in the chair with holding the infant or small child?
Yes, I've had people breastfeed their baby in there. I've had, a small child sit in with the mom or dad, but the session is always done for the children if there's a child in there.
Judy, would you like to talk a little bit about your client and the experience that they had going in the egg? Is that okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
let-
Yeah. He's 7 years old, and I say that he's about 7,000 years old.
Yeah.
Right. He was just amazing. And he's so smart, right? So he's trying to figure out the structure of the egg. He actually, I told you, Gail, he had said, I want to invent one for pets. And I'm like, well, I think you need to talk to Gail before you go into prototype. But yeah, the first time I had him go in with mom because, I wasn't sure, is he going to make it the whole time? But he absolutely made it the whole session, even the quiet time, no problem. And like he just laid out on the couch and he was just so descriptive and he was like, oh my God, so that's when he drove away and he told his mom, I finally feel the way I'm supposed to feel. So he's just incredible. He's coming back for a tune-up in a couple weeks, but he just was incredible. Same thing. He picked the colors. He wanted the purples, and I was afraid he wouldn't be settled, but he was. So it really, like Gail said earlier, it depends on the client, right? But yeah, it was an incredible experience. He's one of the ones that I just kind of sit back and let him talk and go, wow.
I had a Down syndrome little girl come in and she was real skittish about it, didn't know if she wanted to do it or not. And she went in there with her mom, but the next time she came in, it was wintertime. So one boot flew off. She's running towards the egg. The other boot flew off. Jacket's coming off. She's like in there. So cute.
Sweet. Well, thank you, Judy, for sharing that. I appreciate it. And thank you and Bill for all you're doing locally in this area, what you've done for Maybeth and I, and what you will do for many more to come. So thank you. I'm gonna move on here. I want to talk a little bit, just make sure that we have all of the questions. Yep. We have all the questions answered. I wanted to spend a little bit of time. Let me pull up a slide here. Yeah, share that. I want to focus a little bit on your book, if we could, Gail. I found it extremely helpful. And could you say a little bit about it? Then I want to talk to everybody about a promotion that I'm doing, a giveaway of the book. So could you tell us a little bit about the book, what's in it, what's the benefit of reading it, and let us know that they can get that through their local Harmonic Egg or through harmonicegg.com.
Sure. The egg wanted me to write the book because it wanted to have a voice and there's 90 references in there about how sound and light therapy works scientifically. But the beginning of the book, I wanted it to be by anonymous because I really didn't want to put my name on it. But my writer will help me write the book, She said, Gail, how are people going to interview you? How are they going to know? People need to connect to you. You're the energy of the egg. And I was like, okay, we can put my name on it, I guess. So the first part is the story. You know, you hear my story, where I came from, how did I get to where I am? And I hope it inspires people to say, you know what, if this chick from Detroit can do this, then I can do anything. And I just want it to be very empowering. And I want them to go, wow, she went through the ringer on a lot of stuff. But like that song says, you know, you pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and you keep going. And so I want people to be inspired. And if they take away anything, that they go do their dream.
Well, having read the book and rereading it now, it's definitely a book I would highly recommend people get their hands on. And to help that, I want to talk about a promotion that I'm doing. For those of you who know, I have closed the personal coaching side of my business. And I'm just dealing with a couple of healthcare practitioners and helping them bring their products and programs to the world. But I've closed that side of my business, and I've closed the sale of my programs. What I'm going to be devoting my time to is I'm going to be re-recording my Secrets to Goal Achievement Mastery program, Your 9 Steps to Goal Achievement Mastery, the Goal Mastery Journaling System. I'm going to be re-recording that with high school and college level students attending and be on the video. Then I'm going to make that available free to high schools and colleges around the world to use to teach goal achievement and teach using these energetic processes for achieving your goals. And so that's part of my mission of giving, you know, the knowledge and the wisdom that I've gained over the 50 years of work. But also I'm devoting this show to bringing amazing people like Gail to your attention, to have a better understanding of all the great options that are out there. I've purchased 5 books, 5 of Gail's books, Unlocking the Ancient Secrets to Healing. I am going to give those away to the first 5 people who send me a copy of a receipt of a minimum $10 donation to a local food bank of their choice or a local shelter, animal shelter of their choice. You will get a copy of this book as a thank you gift for serving in that capacity. I was homeless. I know what it's like to be hungry. I also know what animals who are in shelters go through and how important it is to help support them. So if you find it in your heart to do that, you make a donation. If you send me the receipt, the first 5 people are going to get a copy of this book sent to you. I purchased the book. I will pay the shipping and get it to you. And I hope we'll have some people take advantage of that. Every author that comes on my show, and we're going to have a bunch in the next 12 months, I will be doing the same. I'll buy the books. The first 5 people who make a donation will get the book. Also, I will match. So if we have 5 people and they donate $10 each, that's 50. I will match that to my local food pantry. If we get 5 people who donate $50 per person and they get a free book, I will match their donation to my local food bank or shelter, animal shelter. That's at this point in my life, this is where I am. This is what this show is about. It's about serving you. It's about serving the world. It's about bringing knowledge, technology, exceptional people to the groups of people who are in my universe, my world, who've known me for years, the thousands of people who have connected with me around the world during the years I've traveled the world speaking and lecturing and posting on Facebook. This is where I am right now. This is what the show is going to be about. So there's going to be some really amazing people just like Gail on this show. And I want to encourage you to come back and watch it. and maybe, send a link to a friend to come and watch it. Let your friends know if they missed tonight's episode. If they become a Facebook friend of mine, they will be able to watch it on my Facebook page. Also, the recording will then, once I edit it, the recording will then go into my YouTube channel, and people will be able to watch that. I will put links up in my Facebook and Instagram pages where they can access that. And Gail, I'm sending you a copy of the interview, and you can use it however you wish. And it will, as I said, it will go up so that my viewers can watch it at any time. So at this point, if we don't have any other questions, I said my piece about the donations to the food bank and to the shelters. First 5 people get your book. Gail, thank you so much for your time tonight. Thank you for all you're doing to serve. Thank you for bringing something so precious back from the past, back to the future and the present, and for all the people you have helped and will help. We very much appreciate souls like yourself and celebrate you with our gratitude and our love, and I hope we'll have you back on the show sometime and talk about some of the other products and programs that are happening in the great work you're doing. So thank you, Gail. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Bill and Judy, for introducing me to Gail and making this possible. Again, folks, if you want to know information, I'm hearing specific questions about the egg. If you go to harmonicegg.com, it's in the chat. If you go there, it will tell you about where the eggs are. Someone asked, is there an egg in Canada? Yeah, you go there, it'll tell you where they are. There's 30 of them in Canada.
There's
Wow,
about 50 in Canada.
50 in Canada. Wow. All right. You cannot escape finding an egg in Canada. So go and go and find an egg if you're so moved to do. But go to harmonicegg.com. If you're in my area here in Southern Maine, New Hampshire, harmoniceggsacco.com. But you can find an egg that's local to you.
So Franny's on the call. She's in Plamondon, and so she's the one I think that she got the picture where her eggs there in the background. But yeah, she's in Canada.
Oh, Franny, let's pin you. Let me pin you so people can see you and the egg. There you are. Hi, Franny.
Hi. I was so blessed to have the universe guide this egg to me. That's what Gail said, right? The egg just gets guided to people. So this is, I'm not sure how to make it better for you to see it because I don't know how to flip my computer around. But there's the beautiful egg. It's needs a minimum 12 by 12 space. So I have a little cabin right in my acreage. And that also was guided to me by the universe. But I just, you open these beautiful doors. See if I could set it down here a little bit. This door. And then this is Gail, you feel free to speak, but this is a beautiful chair that's a gravity chair and it reclines. And we give blankets and just make the client very comfortable. And again, there's lots of different colors as well.
Yeah, Franny's doing an amazing job up there in Plamondon. I believe I'm saying that right, Franny, Plamondon.
Yes. And there's 400 people here in Plamondon. So people thought, well, how are you going to make it go with that? And I'm thinking, I never thought of that because it was universe guided. Then this cabin came to us that was like 2 minutes from my house. So it was shipped here for the egg. And I've been super busy and it's just such a blessing, like Gail said, to see the difference, on people's faces of all ages.
Yeah, you have some amazing testimonials. And if you guys want Harmonic Egg testimonials, it's harmoniceggtestimonials.com. You can search for things that you might have questions about, search for anxiety, search for fibromyalgia, search for and see what comes up where other people had an experience. But yeah, I get some amazing testimonials. And one lady, she said that it saved her life, which I was like, well, how can the egg save your life? And she said, well, my son committed suicide and I was following close behind and I wanted to commit suicide, but I didn't after my egg session. So some pretty heavy stuff, and when I hear that, I thought, wow, like I made that difference in this person's life. And so did the center owner that served her. So.
And Gail, grief is a huge one. And I find that it's amazing to be able to help people in grief. Like we've had somebody in just basically giving up, 3 years of deep grief. And she's like, I don't even know why I'm here. And we did like one a week for a month, and she's 180 degrees different today and still. And, her anniversary of her spouse's death was July. So she came back just to get through that period. But she said she just didn't go to those deep, dark holes, she still remembers them, but just didn't go deep and dark. And that's a big one. I think stress and grief, those are huge. For the most part, that's what people, are seeking. So it's really profound.
Well, thank you for that. Franny, thank you for the tour. The
You're
exposition.
welcome. You're welcome.
Exposition that we just did. Thank you. Thank you, Judy. Let's see. I think that's it. I think that's all the questions. Again, thank you, Gail. I have people asking about questions about price. I think that's probably a good idea to go to the site and they can get information on price, costs of treatments, the cost of the egg purchase, all of that good stuff. You can get information on the website for that. So with that, I want to thank you, Gail, again. Thank you all for coming to the show tonight. Again, if you're Facebook friends, you'll be able to see it replaying on my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page. With that, thank you. Have a good night. I love you all. I care so much about you, your health, your happiness, and that's why we have this show, and that's why we'll continue to have amazing people like Gail and others join us. And just keep watch on Facebook as to when the next interview and the next person is, and hope you join us. With that, I want to wish you a good night, good health, a good life. Remember the power of light and sound, not only for our physical health and well-being, but for our spiritual well-being. The light and the sound contain a tremendous amount of wisdom, love, and power in all areas. So continue to look to it, follow it, listen to it, let it guide you, let it protect you, and you will have an amazing life. So with that, love you all. Have a good night, and we will
Thanks,
see you.
Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Mike.
Gail.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
You're
Bye.
so welcome. You're so welcome. Take care of
Thank you, Chief.
yourself.
Thank you.
Take care, Eugene. Thank you. We'll see you again soon.